And so what's in your physical pantry? You know, when you had to stock your pantry to be sheltering in, was it stocked with junk food?
All right, gang. So, man, here's the truth. This is the conversation that I've actually been dying to have because, you know, once the oxygen mask goes on and you realize that it is what it is and we're in the new normal, right? And then you get through that first little epoch and you sort of reorient, you know, and it's time to get back at it, whatever it is, right? At that point in time, it seems like there's a bifurcated path, right? The old divergent fork in the road. And it quickly relegates itself to the tracks that we have preset in our brains. And you know this to be true, right? You're in a social gathering and you hear people talking about other people or events that have already happened versus people that are sharing and exchanging really cool ideas, right? And it's like boom to boom. So let's COVID-19 that. So the Venn diagram lays on top. The idea and the imagination and the future orientation right now is to say, hey, we've got a little negative afoot, right? But what are we going to do? Are we going to fall down that path of, oh my God, this is terrible, I'm a victim, you know, the whole thing? Got that. That's the easy path, right? But where's the opportunities? What about that one? Those are more difficult and challenging conversations to have, but that's where all the juice is, right? And in order to have a conversation like that, we can't have it alone, hence the point of a conversation, right? So we got to get some smart people up in the room. And luckily for me, I just happen to know some pretty cool smart people. So said smart people, would you please do a bidding here and introduce yourself to your new fans, Michelle and Lisa?
I'm Michelle Edgington. I am one of the co-founders and visionaries for Homestead 360 Real Estate Services up in Northern California in Woodland. And I have the honor of having a big sister who lives in Sitka, Alaska. Yeah. And this is my big sis, Lisa Sadler-Hart. And gosh, you know, who doesn't need a big sister or brother to help kind of guide and lead you down the path? In fact, we were having a kind of a conversation. She called me the other day and said, as your big sister, I just feel like I need to have this conversation with you because I don't like the decision you're making right now. And she said, you've never listened to me before. And that's not true. But she says, you rarely listen to me. That may be true. I was more the rebel in the family. But anyway, my sister, very accredited. She has her master degree in public health. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist. She is a certified health education specialist. She's a yoga teacher. She's a spiritual director. And she is passionate about being an earth and food justice advocate. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to have this conversation with my friend Jessie and my sister because I know that there's a lot of wisdom that she has to share with us as we're all trying to dance through these new times.
And Michelle, you don't get a resume like that if you've been wasting time here on this finite resource of time and energy on this planet. But I love that as a framework. And Lisa, if you'd play with us in that sandbox a little bit, like how do we make sure that we don't waste our opportunity of our time with this?
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind. And maybe we'll draw a little bit from the Buddhist tradition, which I'm not a Buddhist practitioner. I'll say that first and foremost. But I think we've got some opportunities here to get ourselves in right relationship. We have an opportunity to get ourselves in right relationship with the Creator, the divine, the beloved, however you name that or don't name that for yourself. We have an opportunity to make sure that we're in right relationship with our families and our communities, including those that may not be in your circle in community. And then we also have the opportunity to be in right relationship with the planet. And our great mother is suffering. And we can use this as an opportunity to really get clear about that on all those different levels. I'm fortunate to live in a place that affords me an incredible view of the world. I'm able to step outside my door and be in nature in a matter of seconds. I moved here because I wanted that kind of connection. I also live in an incredible community, and people that are taking care of each other and watching out for each other. Tomorrow, I'm going to be baking muffins for the Jesuit volunteers and the AmeriCorps volunteers and the Sitka fellows that are here away from their families and their support systems. And with little thank notes saying, thank you for being here, for giving of your time and your life to our community. And then I get to sit every day in quiet stillness, and I have my particular way to do that. And so this is the opportunity, right? The opportunity is to say, wow, we've all got the big, as some of my friends have said, the reset button has been pushed. So we have this opportunity in this long pause to figure out, are you in right relationship with all of those three and many more, right? And how if you're not in right relationship, how do you move then in that direction?
Yeah, that's a beautiful frame for conversation as deep as I think this medium right here, the three of us together, would be allowed to have it, the interconnectedness of everything. And I even love, right before we hit the record button on this and we were exchanging pleasantries, you even threw out the synchronicity of us, even to the virus and to the bat and to the RNA that lives within this thing, to background, to the soil, to the food we eat, and the pantry, right? What was the metaphor you used for the pantry?
Well, the way that I like to think about it, you can think about it physically as well as spiritually. And so what's in your physical pantry? You know, when you had to stock your pantry to be sheltering in, was it stocked with junk food? Or was it stocked with whole food staples that can nourish and sustain you? And that also happen to nourish and sustain, hopefully, the earth in the way they're prepared. Same goes with what's in your spiritual pantry. You know, what are you able to pull off the shelf when you are feeling shaky? When you're not sure what this all means? You're not sure what you're going to have to give up. And that's scary. So what are those things? And I've been fortunate because I've been on a spiritual path for a pretty long time. And I have lots of good nourishing practices in my spiritual pantry. From chanting mantra to centering prayer to spending time on my yoga mat to meditative walking in nature. It's endless, the opportunities. And everybody has time now to be looking at that. What is in your spiritual pantry? Do you have a spiritual pantry? Maybe you need to start building a spiritual pantry. And you might be wondering, where do I go to do that? Well, there's lots of resources, of course, out on the web. I think you have to really get clear about what's really important to you. Do you want to do that in community, or is it more important to do it on a solitary path? But there's also then accountability there that we also have to think about. Anyway, so that's kind of what I was thinking about the pantry metaphor.
Michelle, I love, and by the way, thank you for that framework too, that, the getting right, you've got the divine, you've got people, which / community, and then you got the planet. But sort of the overarch to that whole thing, and Michelle, I love how you framed this. If you could maybe share a little bit more about that. You talked about how not to fetter away the energy that's required, right? Like back to that divergent path thing. If the reason why it's so common is because it's the easier one. It's hard to go and have the imaginative thought and to see it as an opportunity. Like that takes energy. That takes creativity. It takes spunk. It takes courage, right? It's a lot of stuff. All that is running on the stores of energy, right? So we can talk about the interconnectedness of what you're putting into your body, but what was that framework you mentioned about the not fettering this away? I loved that.
Well, I just, my sister and I were chatting and time is finite and energy is a very precious commodity. And I know for me, my sleep is like my most sacred protector of my energy. And so for me personally, I do not spend time watching TV. I occasionally will watch some Netflix series, but I really have an attention span disorder. So I can't just stay my focus is not that. So, I mean, I'm up at 5:30. I do a very different spiritual practice than my sister. I will usually do a guided meditation, and now I'm doing some other deep private work it out with our business coach for 90 minutes every morning. And that's a very inward practice. And then I say prayer and gratitude, and then I go into physical motion. That is my kind of the way I normally start my day before I start working and doing output and input and all of that kind of thing. But literally, I mean, at night, my house is quiet or I have music on. I love music. Music is something that feeds my soul. And so I listen to a lot of music, different types of music. Usually in the evening, it's classical. During the day, it's a little more upbeat. So those are kind of my practices. And again, my sister's is very different. She usually, I think 4 o'clock goes to her mat and gets very grounded. And it's intriguing and amazing to me to watch my sister in her practice because she's so disciplined and devoted to that. And I love to be around her when she's chanting. It's just the music of those mantra chants is just incredible. So